All right, good morning, everybody. If you're wondering how I am doing this morning, I just called my cat Alexa. And then when I realized that that is not my cat's name, I had to make up a question for Alexa. She just made a grumpy sound because I said her name twice. But yeah, that's exactly the reason why. I said that to the cat, and then I thought, oh no, I have woken her. I must now ask her a question. Um, and the question was, how do I get my cat to stop meowing at my door? Because that was what triggered it. And Alexa, in typical Alexa fashion, told me that somebody's got 3 cats. um, that's probably my favorite part of every time she says, I think of the phrases, I have information that might interest you. Sometimes I'll ask her, are poinsettias toxic to cats? And she'll say, I have some information on the web for you, and I'll expect it to be information about poinsettias. And instead, she'll say, poinsettias are toxic to cats. Poinsettias are also hibiscuses, and that was actually the reason that I'm thinking of this example is hibiscus specifically is what we asked about. We got one of our cats real sick off of that. So don't give your cats hibiscus. But then sometimes, again, she'll give something that literally has nothing to do with anything at all. And she's, she's like talking to the internet, which I guess is exactly what she is. So it all makes sense. Good morning, CB. Thanks for joining us. By us, I mean me. That was like the royal we. How are you guys doing for Nano? I guess I should go ahead and start there before I go on some ramble. Actually, you know what? It's 4 after already, so we're going to be starting our first sprint in a moment here anyway, so I don't really have to worry about rambling that much. We are going to follow the usual format. We're going to do a 10-minute start and then 10-minute break followed by a 15-minute sprint. And we're just going to do 15s for the next 2 hours. And hopefully that will get us all some good words. I have a goal to write 5,000 every day. And I wrote 7,000 yesterday. I hit my 5,000 and I was in the middle of a scene that I didn't want to save to this morning just because it seemed like it was going to be an awkward thing to write in the morning. I don't know. It made sense at the time. And the good news is that I ended up writing 2,000 more words. So that doesn't mean I'm going to change my goal, though. Because I firmly believe that if you try to alter your goals based on your daily progress, you're just going to end up hurting yourself in the end. And by that, I mean by having good days. Obviously, if you have a bunch of bad days, you're going to have to alter your goal. But if you're having a bunch of good, like extra days, don't just immediately assume you can back off because then you end up having too many bad days in a row. Okay, so we're going to write for the next 10 minutes. It is 5 after, so I will see you guys at 1/4 after. Thankfully, StreamYard tells you if you try to talk and your mic is muted. That's one of the perks of this program. Yeah, so we are back and we are taking a 10-minute break before we do our next 15-minute. Let me go ahead and get rid of that. There we go. So we're going to take a 10-minute break here. It's a good time to like get yourself coffee or anything like that if you need it. I obviously do that during the actual typing portion, but not this time. This time I got, oh God. What I got was at the very end of that, I had to research something that I should have had on hand. I have mentioned the kind of ship that this character has a dozen times. I'm writing sci-fi, so they are on spaceships, and I've mentioned the spaceship's type. It has a name. Its name is Yolana, but it's a fancy ship. He's a fish person. He is oh God, what's the correct term for this? He's kind of like a swamp thing type person. He's very man-shaped because I write romance. And there are lines that you really can't cross with romance. So he is man-shaped, but he is aquatic. So he has there it is. His ship is called a Paradise Space Liner. So he happens to have this really fancy ship because they needed a ship with a pool in it for him. There we go. So yeah, so he needed the ship because he needs a pool. And he's military, so like all of his other buddies that are the same rank as him all have, these piece of crap ships that just get like the bare essentials done for moving soldiers across the galaxy. I have a whole thing where there's really not any like combat in space here due to physics that resembles more real physics than most sci-fi physics. So there's no like combat ships. It's just transport ships. So everybody else has real lame ones. And then he's got this super fancy Paradise Space Liner because he's got to have that pool, and it's easier to just buy him a fancy ship for rich people than to retrofit one of the crap ships. For this purpose. Oh, I leaned forward too far. I know I'm not going to focus. By me, I mean the camera this time, but also I'm not very focused. I did write 155 there, and I had to do a bit of research. I was down like, I didn't actually start writing until under the 8-minute mark. So I feel pretty good about that 155. It's also like my first sprint of the day. And CB, if I didn't say this already, CB got 185. So that's also real good. Yeah, as I mentioned before, I've got this goal of writing 5,000 per day. I also have this goal of putting in every single sprint that I write on the Nano site. Because this program that I'm using, Wavemaker, wow, my mouse is not working right today. This is going to be an issue. I have no idea where my mouse is right now. I dual screen, but it appears to not be at any of these screens. I got this new mouse to replace my other dying mouse that turned out not to be dying. And this one is just not working. Oh, this is irritating. And what's more irritating for me is I'm on the screen that I need to access right now is not my computer screen, or not my laptop screen, it's the other screen that obviously is not, does not have a touch sensor or whatever in it. You guys know what I'm talking about, except my words, it's really, yeah, this mouse is broken. Sorry, I don't do well in moments like this. Like, I know I should be like entertaining you or interacting with you. I actually can't see any of you right now because, of course, when I did this, I had tabbed out to adjust my NaNoWriMo score. Oh my God. All right. Well, you know what? When this shit happens, I tell myself not to swear on my channel constantly, but also I'm somebody who swears constantly. Let me do that. I'm so sorry. What I was trying to say before is I'm trying to get myself to update every single time I sprint, so I actually know how much I'm sprinting for, because this wave maker that I'm using doesn't have a good way for me to actually keep progress with that. Oh. I got the mouse to work for a second and then it died again. So anyways, this mouse, I think I'm going to send back to Amazon. It's prettier than my last mouse. There we go. Sorry about that. Sorry about that weird ramble I went on. This mouse is prettier. It's this like green. I'm blinding myself. Yes, I look like a cyborg right now. Woo! Just accept that. Anyways, it's a prettier green shade, but also it's not working, and pretty doesn't really get you very far. I thought my last mouse had broken, and it turned out it was my computer and not my mouse. So I don't have that meltdown again. We are going to sprint in 2 minutes in case you're like, oh my God, this is some crazy ramble that I'm on right now. I promise you that if nothing else, I'm going to be writing again in 2 minutes. So anyways, I'm switching to my other mouse. Screw this mouse. The nice thing I learned with Amazon returns last time is now apparently I can literally just walk into the UPS store with this. I don't need a box or anything. Yeah, so I can just walk into the UPS store with that and return it that way, which is cool. I don't know why that makes such a big difference, but it does. They've just made these returns so easy. Last time I did a return for Amazon, there was another lady at the shop. She was like, "Oh my God, I can return stuff here. I've been taking things to Kohl's," and I was like, "That is a crazy thing to do." Why were you thinking Kohl's first? Oh, good God. Okay, so apparently I was bitching about my mouse, and it's not my mouse. I wonder if it's the battery. I'm so sorry. I'm like this. I'm gonna say, oh no, I was gonna say, I'm sorry. I was gonna say I'm gonna start us on the next stream. I literally can't do the next stream until I get this worked out because I can't start it. It's okay. I've got more batteries right here. This is like my lucky day that all of this stuff is really handy for me. There we go. Oh my God. It was literally the batteries. Okay. Oh, hey, it's CB just said, could it be the batteries? It was. I know, last time I had issues like this, it just died. Like it wasn't, I don't know. Okay. Don't mind me. You know what? It was a distraction. It was a distraction until this. Bam. Nope. That. Bam. Okay. So we are going to write for the next 15 minutes while I pull myself back together. It is 25 past. It's 8:25 in the morning here. So 8:26. So we're going to write until 41 past. Good luck, everybody. Do better than me. All right, I am back. I'm going to go finish this sentence right quickly. The nice thing about all of the streams that are going on right now, or like this month in general, I've been watching a bunch of them, and my issues with trying to finish a sentence while talking to y'all is not a unique issue, and I feel better about that. I don't know. It seems like something that anybody should be able to do. Talk and type. I can't, and apparently a lot of other people can't either. I also can't do dictation. I've heard so many people talk about how great dictation is, and I've tried it a couple of times. My brain doesn't work that way. Once I start talking, this sentence doesn't go how I want it to. I got 304 words in that sprint, so that felt good. But yeah, like if you can dictate, that is fantastic. Not even close for me. I think I've dictated a grand total of 14 words in my life. Yeah, it just doesn't work for me. But that's okay. We're all different. I was joined by the other cat, the one who I accidentally called the A name because I'm not speaking to her right now. I have also issues, as I mentioned, like my panic on accidentally summoning her and having nothing to say to her. I do also have to like script out what I'm going to say to her. For those of you who were not here in the beginning, by her, I'm referring to the Echo, but like, her A name. Yeah, if I'm not asking her something that is like an always thing, like she is constantly an alarm, she is constantly a timer, she is constantly a radio. If I'm asking for questions outside of that, I have to like sit here and plot out how to ask her that question, to make sure that it works right. Meanwhile, my roommate just like asks her whatever, and half the times his questions fail. But I feel like he's not stressing about it before he does it. Like, he's not worried that the Echo God is going to be like, no, that was too dumb, and you're no longer allowed to talk to me. Yeah. I will say, though, you guys don't normally hear it on this show, but I do have a stutter. Oh, right there it was. As soon as I say anyway, I do have a stutter. It's not a severe one, and I'm really good at covering it up by acting like it's just like my normal speech pattern. It's not. I have a stutter. I also had a speech impediment until I was 27 years old. And now that I am considerably older than that, it doesn't seem so bad. But when you are an adult, a grown-ass adult, and you still can't talk right because you can't make sounds properly, it's a weird situation. You feel very, dumb a lot of the times. And there were a lot of things that I just never said because of the speech impediment. I couldn't pronounce orange juice. I would have to blur the two J sounds together into like orange juice, which might have sounded fun now that I'm like saying orange juice. It sounds like fun and goofy, but at the time it's like, no, it's terrible. And obviously, like it was anything that was a J sound or the sh or the ch sound. So SH or CH or J. I couldn't pronounce any of those sounds right. So it it was a major impact on me growing up. It was certainly like an insecurity that I had. I wasn't, I wasn't by any means one of the weird kids. Not that there's anything wrong with being the weird kid. The great thing about growing up and being an adult and all of that is that like none of that really matters anymore. You might like carry it with you some, but certainly when you're 40 years old, the fact that you were the weird kid in high school doesn't matter, and you're probably doing better for it. Anyways, yeah, but it certainly, public speaking was always a nightmare. Between that and the stutter, which thankfully, again, the stutter was something that I could hide. Oh my God, there it is. I don't notice it until I talk about it. And then I'm like, oh, I have such a stutter. But yeah, that wasn't something that bothered me. It just sounds like my speech pattern. I'm really good at incorporating it, but there's nothing you can do with a speech impediment except not say those words and really go out of your way to avoid them. And for some reason, I've never thought to write a character with a speech impediment. You don't want to write a character with a stutter. It's kind of hard to do a speech impediment too. Like any sort of thing where like they talk funny is hard to do because it gets really annoying really fast for the reader. And in fact, in the last story I wrote, I had a character that was missing half of his face. A very Two-Face, but I'm writing romance, so like who cares if I'm using a very common villain trope. But yeah, so he had like that lisp going on, and I absolutely make fun of him to no end for that lisp. So somebody's probably going to be mad. I did make a comment on there about how there's like nothing funny about a lisp, but like this guy, because he's the villain and also has the lisp, this is hilarious. And hopefully people will be sympathetic to that. And if not, I hope that, if they complain to me, I can complain right back that I've got a speech impediment. I had like a sound that was far worse than a lisp for half of my life. CB says that she was the weird kid all the way through school. Yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with being the weird kid. I was one of those, like, I'm going to call him like a transition kid, where I had like popular friends and I also had weird friends. And it wasn't something that I realized I was like straddling the line until I got to like my high school years, and I would invite all of my friends to things, and I never understood why they didn't work until like my senior year of school. It was always like, why do Sarah and Stephanie not get along? And why does Shelly not even talk to Stephanie? And it's because Stephanie was a popular kid and Sarah and Shelly weren't. So like, yeah, they didn't know what to talk to her about, and she was talking about, in their opinion, real dumb things. So yeah, it was definitely like a weird experience for me on that end. Oh, that's funny. CB just said that for some people who have speech difficulties, learning to play woodwind or brass instruments or singing can help. I did all of those things and none of them helped. I took Japanese. When I went back to college, my second time through college, I took Japanese, and that was what fixed my speech impediment, weirdly enough. But yeah, I played clarinet for 8 years and a trombone for 8 years. And I was in the chorus up until 10th grade. So I guess that would have been 10 years of singing, and none of that helped. Japanese. When I will continue that story on how Japanese fixed my speech impediment after this sprint. We are writing for the next 15 minutes. It is 8:51. on the East Coast. So that's going to take us to 9:06. I will see you guys then. Keep talking to nothing because my microphone is off. We are back. I didn't get a whole lot of writing done that time because I needed more coffee and a potty break. But let's see how I did. I wish I was getting more words this morning. I am sometimes productive in the morning and sometimes not. I generally always do well later. Yesterday I wrote 2,000 words from like 9 to 10:30. It was crazy. I wasn't timing or anything. It just like happened. I got 185 this time. But also if I stay up too late, then I have issues in the morning just existing. And since I don't have a job other than this anymore, I really don't want to become that person who sleeps until 10 o'clock in the morning every day. I did that in my 20s. I am an adult now. Ooh, CB broke 20K. And this is on your rewrite, correct? So you've already gotten 50K and now you're starting over and you're at 20K? Anyway, so we were talking about musical instruments briefly before. I played clarinet for 8 years, starting in 2nd grade, and which is 7. I know, CB, you're in I believe England. So I know you guys have a different system there. So when I say 2nd grade, I would have been 7. I might have been 6 because I started school early. But I was a little guy. Played the clarinet for 8 years. During that time, I also played the bass clarinet and I played the piccolo. For some reason, I can't play the flutes. Every flautist I know says it's completely insane that I can play a piccolo, but not a flute. Usually it goes the other way around, but that's okay. And then I also played one of the saxophones, an alto, no, a tenor, the slightly bigger one, but not the gigantic one. And I played I'm going to call it a xylophone. It was not a xylophone, but it was one of those many things that look like a xylophone. And then by the time I hit 9th grade, I realized that the reason I was playing all of those was because I hated the clarinet. So because of that, I switched to trombone. And I played trombone for I played trombone for 6 years. So I have played many instruments. And sadly, clarinet, it wasn't a glockenspiel either. I was thinking that was actually what popped into my brain first. And I was like, that's going to sound way fancier than what it actually was. I don't remember what the dang thing was now, but there's a whole bunch of them that look very similar to that. So I don't know. I was in 7th grade at the time. This was decades ago. This was it would have been like 92, I think, that I played that thing. So whatever it was, it didn't stand out to me. It was something that I smacked with a mallet that made a pretty sound. So yeah. So that was my illustrious music career. And then I finished college the first time around and did the whole hippie thing for years. Again, I worked I vended at music festivals for 10 years. And then I also managed the shop that they had an actual shop, these hippies that I worked for. So during that time, I switched to the wood flute and the didgeridoo. I keep looking over there because I actually have a didgeridoo sitting there. I don't know if I can make sounds on it anymore. We have a fictitious holiday that we have in our house. I say fictitious, but like we actually celebrate it. So I guess it's not really fictitious, because how do you determine between a fake and a real holiday? We celebrate it. We have many people who celebrate it with us. But anyways, it's called Thunderdome. Just go with that. It's called Thunderdome, and we ring it in with this extremely annoying bell. It's really funny that everything I'm talking about is really accessible today, but I've got this really annoying bell. You hear how loud that is, and that wasn't even me actually shaking it. That was me trying to keep it steady. But one year we tried to blow it in with the didgeridoo, and it failed. Oh God, I freaked out a cat. So I really can't make a good sound on a didgeridoo anymore. I can make a sound, but it's just not, it wasn't as exciting as shaking the crap out of that bell and scaring the crap out of everyone, including the cats. If you guys saw how they, their ears are still freaking out behind me. CB wanted to play the flute, but is really allergic to nickel. I'm surprised that you can't get, I was going to say, I'm surprised that you can't get a mouthpiece that doesn't have nickel in it, but I guess the entire instrument, if it's a skin allergy, then I'm thinking like a ingestion allergy. But yeah, no, if you've got a skin allergy, which if it's a nickel allergy, it would be a skin allergy, because I've got an issue with nickel jewelry as well. Not bad enough that I wouldn't be able to play a flute with it, but yes, I understand. I didn't for a second, and now I do. It doesn't matter what the mouthpiece is made out of, because you're holding that damn thing. I guess clarinets. I don't know what clarinet. I mean, I know that clarinets are wood or plastic, or the body of it. I don't know what the little things are. That's how long it's been since I played the clarinet, that the only way I can refer to like the hardware on it is a little stuff. I was really good at it, but here we are. When you're really good at something when you're 10 years old, I'm sure we all have something that we were really good with when we were 10 years old that now we're like, I don't even remember what the dang thing is called. Okay. So we are going to do our next sprint. Ooh, there we go. I'll click on the right thing eventually. I am actually going to write on this sprint, so hopefully I get words. That was some accent right there. Did you guys hear me say sprint? I've lived in a lot of places in my life. They're all on the East Coast of the United States, which does not sound... Oh, yeah, okay. So I was right. The little things can be made out of nickel. Okay. Anyways, I've lived in a lot of places, all on the East Coast of the United States. But the thing with the East Coast of the United States is we've got a lot of accents in this area. I lived in New York, Ohio, Delaware, Florida, and Georgia. So every once in a while, some word just gets like real wonky when I talk. Also, because of my many years in Delaware, you eat a berry and you bury a body. Those are two different words in the Mid-Atlantic accent that are not pronounced the same way. It sounds real weird to me when people say bury a body. No, you bury it. Or, you bury... there are other things you bury. I don't know why I immediately went to dead bodies, except I'm a writer. Okay. Speaking of, we are going to write for the next 15 minutes. And let's see. Yes, it is. I'm sorry. I zoned out for a second. It is 16 past, so we are going to write until 31 past. Good luck, everybody. Okay. I am going to finish this last sentence. In the meantime, CB, I have no idea why flutes are bad in Scotland, and I am curious. For a second there, I thought, is this a St. Patrick thing? And then I realized that is really dumb because that is Ireland. So now I'm super curious about why flutes are bad in Scotland. Let me go finish this sentence and then I will give you a word count. I did just finally get over 1,000 for today. Again, my goal is 5,000 for the day, so it's 20%. I accept 20%. I don't have a huge amount of stuff happening today. I was going to make banana bread, and it is grocery shopping day, and it is Thanksgiving grocery shopping. So it's probably going to be a lot more of a fiasco than I want it to be, but there we are. His little paws. I love when he does those little rabbit paws. Okay, let me finish this sentence. Okay. This is a really weird thing about the story that I am working on. Again, it's sci-fi. And so I grew up on Star Trek. So don't think that I think that this is a normal trope. Oh, I just crossed 70,000 as well. But don't think I think this is a normal trope in all sci-fi. But something that happens in a lot of sci-fi is kind of a lack of culture, of television and books or some equivalent to that. I feel like you get a lot of bar stuff and there's music. And again, of course, with Star Trek, they had the holodeck and all of that. So, and TNG is what I grew up on. So Jean-Luc had his journals and I remember there being photographs and stuff like that. So again, I certainly don't think that this is standard in all sci-fi, but a lot of sci-fi does not have there's certainly no sitting around watching a TV or reading a book or anything like that. It's kind of that we're going to pursue bigger things. And I've got that going on in this story. Again, there are reasons for this, and there are certainly culture like that on planets. But this ship is a weird thing. So, it makes sense in this environment, but also this stuff does exist, just not on this ship. Nobody does that. Everybody is it's 100% productivity on this ship. And now I've just gotten to a character who was injured in combat. He's not the focus of this book, but he's going to be the focus of the next book. He was injured in combat, and he's in a situation where, because of how he exists, if anybody is taken out of combat, if they're no longer able to fight, they're basically killed. There's no retirement or anything for them. They're basically bred for this one function. And he's just lost his leg. And they're going to try to get him a prosthetic that will be viable, that he can go back into combat, which is great. But if not, he's facing his mortality right now. And also he's stuck in a hospital bed, and because of his size, he's not mobile in any way. And now, because I've kind of removed less productive pursuits, I don't know what he's doing. And right now it is staring at a wall, but like this is also, I've got these characters that have been divided up based on their traits. They're all alien human hybrids, and depending on what you are is where you go. And he is military because he is more of a physical than a mental person. So I feel like he would not be pursuing knowledge, but also it's romance. So like, you know, and I feel like that's kind of the always trope that like you're in this position because you're a strong man, but also because it's romance, you're sensitive and smart. So I don't know what he's doing in this hospital bed. He is going to have like a major depression issue, and that's going to be part of his story is his rehab out of not just the physical, but also the mental, and accepting his death. And, you know, there's that point where you accept it enough that you end up welcoming it because he knows that he has no life after this. Sorry for the downer. Oh my God. I really just wanted to talk about, I don't know what I'm going to do with this character because there's no like movies or books or anything accessible. Like there's music and that's about it. CB says that everything is just complicated when you get into Irish history. Full disclosure on that. I don't know how things are now because it's, you know, I graduated high school in the last millennium, but when I was in high school, we were only required to take like 2 civics classes, I'll call them, government or not government, social studies classes. We're only required to take 2 social studies classes. And one of them in that state was a civics class. There we go. So I took my civics class, which is like government. In our school, it was called Problems of Democracy, except not for me because I was an honors kid. So we had what was called current events that satisfied that, but was literally us reading Newsweek and discussing Newsweek. Real weird. Going way off track. What I was trying to say is that because of that, I only took like the intro, the sociology class. I took a sociology class and I took that Newsweek class. And I didn't take a single history class because I hated history. And, you know, for us, it would have been world history and U.S. history. But world history is really European history, at least in 1996 in Delaware. So most of my friends, the whole reason I'm talking about this is that most of my friends know the history of like I guess the British Isles. Please tell me if that is a terrible way of saying that, but like we know 8 million terms for that area, and most of us don't really know what's what. Like I know Britain and Ireland and Scotland and UK, and I don't know the collective term for all of that with Ireland. Anyways, sorry, that was like a really weird ramble, but I'm going to call it all the British Isles, and hopefully I'm not offending anybody in that. Most of my friends know a lot more about it than me, and I feel like that is evident by what I just said. But anyways, no flutes in Scotland. Crazy, or like flutes are frowned upon in Scotland. And that's a real interesting thing. Oh, whoops. I did not mean to click that, but my mouse is okay. So this is absolutely the mouse is acting up in addition to the battery that's dying. Okay. So what CB does say about the fact that I have no idea what I'm talking about when I'm talking about that area of the world. The best way to learn about it is probably to watch the Liam Neeson movie Michael Collins, and perhaps I will, because I have been on this cult kick lately. Like I've been watching documentaries on cults. I did the Leah Remini's Scientology, and also a thing on Jonestown, and I'm really upset that I can't watch the thing on Vixum. And that is my rut right now. I am always on true crime, and I kind of branched off into that. And so maybe I'll watch this movie. I'm gonna make a banana bread later. Let's accept that. And sounds like a good time to also put a movie on so I can watch something while I'm in the kitchen. Anyways, it is that time. Oh God, there we go. That's the one that I want. I've got 7 options here, and somehow I will never click the correct option, even though it is so obvious which one it is. So we are going to write for the next 15 minutes. It is 9:42 a.m. on the East Coast of the United States. So that will take us to 9:57, which will be about the end of the show. I will see you guys then. Okay, I am going to finish this sentence. And that is time for us. So I'm at 7621 now. So it looks like I got about 400 again. I do have a bit of a goal to hit 100,000, which at this pace, I should absolutely do. I don't know what's going to happen with Thanksgiving because there's going to be a lot of people in the house. By a lot, I mean 6, and I promise that they're all people who have been in my house in the last week, and therefore they are bubble. One of them is absolutely quarantined, and the other 2, 3, it's 5 or 6. I don't know if my roommate's girlfriend is going to be here or not. But our friend Paul is here constantly. He's been helping us with all of that tree removal that we've been dealing with. And then our friend Shell, who is a lawyer, she does have to go to court, but from what I understand, they do things pretty safely in court. She had to come here the other day because of legal stuff. She got trapped on the highway and could not get to the office in time for some legal thing that she had to do. So she stopped here, which was closer to her, to take care of it. So that is who is going to be here for Thanksgiving. And therefore, I don't know how much writing I'm going to do, but I'm going to be able to hit that goal. And then CB has 20,808 total on this rewrite. So that is fantastic. I am at about 20,000, 25,000 on this second novel because my first novel didn't actually hit the 50,000, but I feel good about that. Also, CB mentioned that that the history that she learned in school is not the history that like she feels like she should have learned. And I get that a lot because obviously with Thanksgiving looming, that is a big issue with American history as well. And then everything that happened this past year with like Black Lives Matter and all of that. There's so much misinformation in our history that it is embarrassing. And because we are such a big presence globally, everybody knows our embarrassment along with us. So, like, I know that there are these things in other countries, and certainly the area that CB is from is something that we do learn a good amount about because it is also our history, since we were originally a British colony. But that's, you know, we don't know like what's wrong in it, and we're starting to learn a lot more about what's wrong in the American history, and it sucks learning all of this stuff. So CB says we got the Scottish Wars of Independence and World War II and the Victorians, and that was all. What's funny with American history is, for as brief as our history is, I don't know. When I was in school again in the 90s, our history only went up to like World War II. Like I knew more about the US in the 1700s than I did 20 years before my birth. I was born in 1980 and I knew pretty much nothing. I to this day really don't know anything about 1960. So Yeah, I feel like it's a weird how our history is taught as well. Like there's so much focus on what we were at the very beginning of this country, of like the 1700s. We learned so much about those like pre-America days, and then the war, and then like the Revolutionary War. I know you guys call it something different in England because we were, or in you have to accept, I'm sorry, that what I like, if I say the wrong term, it's all like, again, that vague thing for me. Anyway, like we know that, and we know up to the Civil War, and then there's really almost nothing until at least high school. And then, like I said, like at that point, we can just not take any of it. And I know still that like, even if you take those classes, you miss a huge chunk of it that's closer to us. That obviously we suck at learning about, because, we have all of these deniers of things that happen. We have people who deny the landing on the moon and stuff like that. So we certainly need to be learning this stuff better. Anyway, I just went way longer than I meant to on all of that. Little House on the Prairie is actually, I believe, early 1900s. So that is much more recent than colonial times. But again, I understand, because things are so messed up with education, how that could happen. Yeah, because I believe Laura Ingalls Wilder was around until, like the 50s at least. She's got, I think her daughter just recently passed away. Okay, so I am going to send you guys off on another sprint. This is Katie Ann's Pomodoro. If you guys want to move on to another show, there is another show for you. I will be here tomorrow evening, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Y'all are welcome to join me then. And if not, Thursday and Friday at 8 a.m. as well. Bye, everybody.